Opinions expressed on the Jay Thomas Show are the opinions of the host, participating callers, listener emails, and/or letters, and are not necessarily the opinions of WDAY or Forum Communications. WDAY 970 AM and 93.1 FM invite you to make your opinion known. We pride ourselves on exploring all viewpoints on any topic.
Do you know who I am? I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal. People know me.
I'm very happy for you.
Jay Thomas Show. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. We kick off another work week. Wow. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, boy, he sure is spinning his wheels right now. Trying to cover his butt.
It's amazing when they love you, and then when they don't love you, oh boy.
Oh, baby. We must learn from this and improve hospital nursing home care. You mean you didn't realize in the beginning, probably not a smart idea to stick COVID patients in nursing homes and then lie about the numbers? Wow.
Oh, but he was too busy and relishing in his Emmy nomination.
Well, the guy's got, is it me or is the guy he's got a God complex? Honestly.
I think so. I think a little bit, yeah.
Holy smokes, this dude is something else. All right, hope everybody had a good weekend. I think, what do we got, 1-2 more days and we're done with the deep freeze for a while?
That's what we're being told, yeah, just in time for the big snowmobile event over there.
That's right. Yeah, that's right, coming up this weekend, and we'll have more details throughout the week. We're not the only ones suffering here in the cold. Oh, man. Rare deep freeze down in Texas. That is raising the demand for power. Forced the state's electric grid operator on Monday to impose rotating blackouts that have left nearly 3 million customers without power. It's cold for Texas. This is cold. They've got temperatures ranging anywhere from -8 to 21 degrees down there. President Joe Biden declared an emergency today, unlocking federal assistance for Texas. The Electric Reliability Council of Texas sought to cut power use in response to this, I guess it's a winter record of 69,150 megawatts on Sunday evening, more than 3,200 megawatts higher than the previous winter peak back in January 2018. As of today, 30,000 megawatts of generation have been forced off the system, and now you have these rotating outages, and they say they could be initiated until the end of this weather emergency. Storms knocked out nearly half the state's wind power generation capacity on Sunday. Wind generation ranks as the second largest source of electricity in Texas, accounting for 23% of the state's power supply. Of the 25,000, of the 25,000 plus megawatts of wind power capacity normally available in Texas, 12,000 megawatts were out of service yesterday. It is a wow. And by the way, the spot price of electricity on the Texas power grid spiked more than 10,000% today. Now, why the hell do we care about that, Jay? Well, we do need to worry about that, right, Rob Port?
We do, actually. And I've actually got some news, because there's some news about, let's just get into it. North Dakota is served by 2 power grids. One is MISO, the Midwest Interconnect or Independent System Operator. That's what it is, MISO. The other is called SPP. It's the Southwest Power Pool. Both of these power grids go all the way south. So like MISO goes all the way like through, east from North Dakota down through Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, all the way down to Louisiana. The SPP, meanwhile, also covers, and MISO and SPP cover North Dakota. It's kind of a patchwork. Like, it's really weird. You'll see like islands of SPP grid and then MISO all around it. It's kind of weird. But SPP goes all the way down. It actually covers the northern part of Texas.
Okay.
So the SPP just posted on Twitter about an hour ago. I'm going to quote now. After declaring an energy emergency alert level 3 at 10:08 a.m. this morning, and after exhausting all other options to ensure the continued reliability of the regional grid, SPP is directing member utilities to implement controlled interruptions. So that's a power grid that covers a big chunk of North Dakota, and they're ordering controlled interruptions as well. Now, before people get freaked out, how this gets implemented locally is going to be up to utilities. And every utility has, I guess they all have plans. So, this isn't going to be done like uniformly across the power grid. How this impacts North Dakota companies is going to depend on your utilities. And if you have questions about that, you should contact your utilities. But what's going on here is this isn't just a California or a Texas issue. This is a North Dakota issue too. This is a power grid that serves North Dakota. And last year, by the way, was just bragging, right? I don't know if you remember back not that long ago, last year, we heard that thing where a power grid had like 61% was wind power in April. Yeah, that was this power grid.
That's this grid.
That's this grid. They've been bragging. And by the way,
this SPP.
The SPP. And by the way, I think it's ERCOT is the power grid in Texas that's having all the problems. They actually have more wind power than any power grid in the country, right? They're number one when it comes to wind power. That's the common line here. And it's actually funny because just recently our colleagues, Adam Willis and Patrick Springer, for the forum, mm-hmm. They had an article, and in that article was this quote from Carly McLeod.
Oh, yeah.
She's the president of the Utility Shareholders of North Dakota. She said, I quote, "We don't have the concern because we know we have both resource adequacy and reliability. We feel these fears at the moment are unfounded." And she's talking about brownouts, rolling brownouts.
Yeah. I believe she said, too, for the time being.
Which is such a weasel word, by the way. Yeah, for the moment, I think she said. For the moment, which, okay, what about the next moment, though?
Yeah.
And this is the problem. I mean, for years, critics of, and I should make this clear, I don't have a problem with wind power as a concept.
Sure.
Right? I don't have a problem all with putting up wind turbines and producing energy. What I have a problem is a political atmosphere and government policy that is pushing us to wind power before it's ready for prime time. We're taking base load power like coal off the grid, and we're putting intermittent power like wind on the grid to replace it. And it's just not working. Now, Jay, the SPP website is down right now, but I was able to log on.
Isn't that ironic?
Isn't that weird? I was able to log on earlier today, and guess where most of the power on the SPP is coming from as of almost 11 a.m. this morning?
Where?
Coal.
Oh,
almost 44% of it's coming from coal. Another 32% coming from natural gas. Wind is currently making up just barely over 10%. Okay. And normally I think it's running much higher than that. Let's say MISO which is the other power grid that serves North Dakota. Coal is over 50%. Providing the power as of 11 o'clock this morning. Wind less than 4%.
And don't these power companies, don't they basically want out of coal? They're preferring to go with wind.
Well, they are. Well, they are because they're being pressured politically. I mean, right now, that's where the activism is. Right? Is you have the divestment movements where you have people, they want companies to divest from coal power and from energy power. That's impacting these utilities too, where they are feeling. They'll argue otherwise. They'll say, "Oh, it's the marketplace that's pushing us to this," but it's not. It's politics. And by the way, at the end of last year, remember the wind production tax credit, the PTC that was supposed to expire. Surprise got renewed again at that last end of.
We knew that wasn't going.
That happens every single year. So I think there's some serious questions. The wind industry tells us they don't need the production tax credit anymore; it could go away, and yet magically it gets renewed every year. The wind industry tells us we don't have to be worried about rolling blackouts. Worries about that are baseless, and yet now we have rolling blackouts.
Yeah, what's happening now? Are we going to see blackouts because of what's going on south of here? Will we see them here in North Dakota?
Well,
for the people that are have their power coming from these companies.
Right. Well, so again, the grid the grid that touches North Dakota is the Southwest Power Pool. That covers a big chunk of North Dakota, mostly in the rural areas. So it's gonna if you're worried about I don't know that we've heard from any North Dakota utilities yet. I mean, again, yes, the SPP just announced this publicly about an hour ago. But I would contact your utilities. That's who you need to be talking to about how this is going to impact North Dakota.
So, like, folks, let's say here in the metro area, we wouldn't be affected by this Southwest Power Pool, would we?
I don't know. I've tried to look at the maps and work out which communities are where. And it's hard because, again, if you look, I was looking at a map from FERC, which is the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, trying to work out, where's MISO and where's the SPP in North Dakota. And it's hard to, there's a map, but it's not very detailed.
Okay.
So it's hard to tell. So again, I would, if you're concerned about this, I would look for some information from your utilities, whoever your utility is that you're using.
Okay, and again, so what their status? Read their statement again from Southwest Power Pool.
So this is what their tweet says. After declaring an emergent, and I'm going to have this should be up in a column of mine shortly.
Okay.
If people are looking for this, but if you're looking, this is on Twitter. It's at SPP.org. That's their Twitter handle, and their tweet says, I quote, after declaring an energy emergency alert level 3 at 10:08 a.m. this morning, and after exhausting all other options to ensure the continued reliability of the regional grid, SPP is directing member utilities to implement controlled interruptions of service effective immediately. So what happens is there's all sorts of utilities that make up the SPP grid, right? And how that gets implemented. But basically the grid is saying we're going to have to stop interrupting service. That's blackouts. That's we're going to have to do some planned blackouts to control demand.
And that's the last thing you want when we have weather like we're having right now. It is downright. What do we have? -4 right now.
Well, I'll tell you, it was above zero this morning, and I was thinking like it was a heat wave outside.
I bet. We haven't. I don't think we've seen above zero for a while here, at least.
About 10 days.
Has it been that long? Yeah. So now before again, we put everybody in panic mode.
Right.
You just people need to call and check with their utilities. But this goes to show you. I'm with you. I'm all for wind energy if you got it, but this whole push that this has got to be our main source, wind energy and solar. I'm sorry, it doesn't work.
And meanwhile, we have massive coal plants. There's been talk about the Leland Old Station now, which is another massive coal-fired power plant in central North Dakota being shut down. This is troubling stuff. The wind industry tells us we don't have to worry about rolling blackouts, and yet here we are. This is a power grid that serves North Dakota that is saying they're going to have to implement controlled interruptions because they don't have enough power.
Hang on, Rob. Callers, hang on. We'll get you when we come back. 293-9000. Toll free 1-888-970-9329. You can email us right here in studio or Tyler's Tree Service inbox. It is talk@WDAY.com. Jay Thomas Show.
Pipers Auctioneers 2021 equipment auctions will bring exciting opportunities for the new year, including premier farm equipment auctions in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, in Bismarck, Bowman, Rain, Jamestown, Bowdoin, Steele, Marmarth, Animus, Lear, and Raleigh, North Dakota. With today's optimism in the equipment markets, it's never been a better time to turn iron into cash, and Piper's regional and online auctions can do just that. Consign your items today at 701-523-7366. All equipment inventories and auction details are updated daily at pipers.com.
At Pucklich in Valley City, my dad taught us the very important principle of treating our customers with respect. And that principle is still at the heart of our business. Our goal has always been to provide you with an excellent purchase and ownership experience. And you can trust that we will always offer...
Jay, Oklahoma is in the SPP power system. My friend near Tulsa had a rolling blackout for an hour. It's 3 degrees here. Our pipes are freezing. Water mains are bursting. Wow.
That's the one you always warn about. That's not good.
293-9000, toll free 1-888-970-9329.
Yeah. That's a part of the world that's not as prepared maybe as North Dakota is for some of those low temperatures. But also on the other hand, where do they cut power from? If it's that cold in Oklahoma, can North Dakota be spared? I don't know.
That's a good question. Let me grab some of these calls here, Rob. Yeah. Mark, hang on, buddy. We're going to get you. I got to grab these a couple folks before you, but don't lose your spot. We always love hearing from Mark on the road. The guy's out and about everywhere. Let's do Rock from Ariska first. Hey, Rock, thanks for hanging on. Jay Thomas Show.
Yeah, I just got a few comments to make on this, and at the end I want to ask one question of Rob.
Sure.
But, oh my gosh, it's everything that the leftist socialists try to get their fingers into that just seem to really screw it up. Everything from this green power. This is a new Green Deal, and this is just the start of it. I can't wait till all of our cars run off electricity as well.
Well, hold
suck power off the grid, that's run by wind turbines.
Hold on a second, Rock. Let me jump in here real quick, Rock, because I got to bring something up. Otherwise, I will forget. If I'm not mistaken, Rob, then I'll let you finish, Rock. Isn't a problem down in Texas too that a lot of these wind towers they're freezing up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean that's the problem. But again, I mean if we need we're a society that runs on power.
That's right.
And so they're freezing up, and that's not an excuse. Like
No,
you
exactly.
still have to be able to produce power when we need it, especially
That's right.
when we need it, and when it's we're having these extreme weather conditions.
This is fantasy land, Rock. That's what this is. Go ahead.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It is fantasy land. I worked in wind for about 6 years as a wind technician and got to see some of the business side of it.
Okay.
And I mean, the bottom line is you have to just look at the market itself, free market, and what really works economically. And economically, they're unfeasible. If the government wasn't propping them up and paying for them, there'd be no profit. There's just pennies of profit at the most. And the companies don't want to invest billions of dollars to build this infrastructure, build these wind farms on very little profit. So the government is taking our tax dollars to prop up an industry to actually raise our electrical costs at the same time, because it's gone sky high in a lot of areas. I mean, I see it all the time on my bill. There's an add-on for the green power, for the whatever it is. And that being said, we're taking something that's viable, such as coal, which in the United States is as clean as it is anywhere in the world.
That's right.
The coal power, the fire, and we're way above the standard. North Dakota's plants are way above the standard. And that being said, again, you look at Europe. Europe has already, Germany in particular, has said the renewables, the wind has failed. And they realize they shut down all of their base load, all their fossil-fired base load, not all of it, but a large portion of it. And Germany's got their, what's in a ringer. And they can't provide their own population with power. So now after they've done it and they've goofed it up, we're going to go right down that road and do the same thing. I want one question for Rob. On top of all this that's going on, all these problems with the grid down in Texas, and with MISO and the SDP and all of that, now throw in there that Biden has just removed the restriction that Trump had put on to keep China out of our grid.
Yeah, I mean
there's another interesting twist on things. I'll listen to you. What you guys got to say.
Thanks, Rock.
just to add on, I mean the Biden administration. Remember, now they've kind of walked this path since they've gotten elected, but both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have come out for banning fracking. So the other big power source that we're leaning on, especially right now with this weather, is natural gas. Well, where do you think the bulk of America's natural gas is coming from? It's coming from, it's either a byproduct of oil fields or just straight up gas fields, and fracking is what's unlocking it. So in a lot of ways, natural gas faces the same political headwinds that coal does. God. And those are the two sources that we're leaning on right now, because you know what? Wind isn't cutting the mustard.
Can the government just please not screw one thing up? Wouldn't that be great? Chris in Fergus Falls, Jay Thomas Show.
How's it going?
Going good, Chris. What's up?
How about the Hoot Lake Power Plant in Fergus Falls is set to go offline in April?
The Hoot Lake. What is it called? The Hoot Lake Power Plant?
Yep, Ottertail Power.
That's a coal-fired plant?
Yes.
Yeah. There's been a lot of them of late, all over the place. I mean, it's probably too many for us to list here, but we've had some plants closed in North Dakota, and I mean, obviously the North Dakota markets are what I'm most familiar with. Coal Creek is slated to be closed unless they can find a buyer for it, and then the Leland Old Station is another one that's a coal-fired. It's owned by Basin Electric. And that's another one that could be, there's starting to be some rumors that could be another one that's going to go away. Again, once these plants close, we really can't just reopen them.
I was just going to ask that. Can we just pop these things back open if we need to be?
I mean, not easily. I mean, I'm not, nothing's impossible, but I mean, in the current political environment, who's going to invest in coal? Right?
Well,
I mean, we live in an environment, and granted, this is a different energy source, but we live in an environment. Joe Biden gets elected, with a stroke of his pen, shuts down the Keystone XL pipeline,
and possibly DAPL.
Right, and possibly DAPL. So that's the environment we're living in. That's how super partisan and super politicized all of this is. But people want to tell us, it's the marketplace that's driving coal out. No, it isn't.
No, it's the marketplace that's not driving it out. You're exactly right. Mark on the road, Jay Thomas Show. Thanks for holding on, bud.
Hey, Jay. Hey, Rob.
Hey.
I don't disagree with you on the wind and solar thing. That's way overblown and overrated. We can't do it just them. But, Rob, you didn't mention WAPA, WAPA, Western Area Power Association. And I don't know, these ones that you're mentioning, are they all IOUs, or do they serve the, North Dakota's got a lot of electric co-ops, including one that I'm a member of, Cass County Electric, and they do a very good job with load management. I've heard nothing from them about any chance of rolling blackouts or anything. But these WAPA substations, I drive right by one here in Bismarck. I drive right by one along I-29 in Watertown, South Dakota. These major transmission lines are coming in and out of there. Is that all power that's generated?
Well, my understanding that WAPA is strictly hydropower. Maybe I have that wrong. But
no. I don't think
the Western Area Power Administration markets hydropower at federal dams. That's a federal agency. Whereas MISO and the SPP are private, and they're essentially nonprofits that basically organize. I mean, they are, when we talk about the power grid, that's what we're talking about. And there's two of them in North Dakota. One is MISO and one is the SPP, and they kind of mesh. It's a patchwork across the whole state of those two grids.
So all these major transmission lines coming in must become Garrison or something. One other thing I want to say is, I lost my train of thought here. The way these cooperatives control power is, shedding heat load if you participate in that kind of deal, and that really works well.
Yeah.
But I would think that if we're going to start having rolling blackouts out here, whether you're a member of a cooperative or an IOU, they'd be letting us know about it by now.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about it is cooperatives are essentially utilities. That's a separate thing.
One more thing,
quick, because I got about 20 seconds.
Okay, Milton R. Young, Rob, they say the air coming out of there is cleaner than the air going in. They've spent billions of dollars over the last 20 years cleaning up their coal, so I hope that one's not going anywhere soon.
I don't know about the air going out being cleaner, but you're absolutely 100% right that clean coal, like the technology we've put in place to clean up the emissions from coal plants, has improved dramatically. It ain't your grandpa's coal plants anymore.
Mark, appreciate the phone call. Rob, can you hang on?
Absolutely.
Okay, when we come back, more of your calls, 293-9000, toll-free 1-888-970-9329. Email right here in the studio, Tyler's Tree Service Inbox. It's talk at WDAY.com as we're watching everything happen in Texas and the southern part of the country. You should keep an eye on it because they've got almost 3 million people without power. They're doing rolling blackouts because the wind energy ain't working down there. And yes, that could have an effect on us all the way up here in North Dakota. As Rob laid it out earlier, we'll have him hit it again real quick when we come back. And if you want to comment, 293-9000, toll free, 1-888-970-9329. Oh, Lieutenant Governor Brent Savage is going to join us at 3:05 this afternoon. We'll get his take on all this as well.
He's a good one. He'd be a good one to talk about this. He has been heavily involved in the Coal Creek Station talks. So he's somebody who knows what he's talking about with this stuff.
Great. Yeah, and he just happens to be on today at 3:05. Okay, hold on, Rob. All right, break. Come back. More of the Jay Thomas Show.
Street I know about the girls from Tokyo.
All right, 2:38. All right, couple emails here from our Tyler's Tree Service inbox. Email, by the way, is talk at WDAY.com. 293-9000 if you want to call into the program. Toll free, 1-888-970-9329. Weekly chat with Rob Port, talking about what's going on with this unbelievable weather down to the south of us, Texas. I mean, we're talking, what is it?
Well, the weather's here has been pretty unbelievable.
Oh,
I mean, let's be honest.
I was listening to the Need to Know Morning Show this morning, and they were checking up at the North Pole. The North Pole was like 7 degrees colder than we were down here in Fargo, man.
What do the elves have to say?
Get me out of here. Get me out of here.
I wonder what power grid they're on.
I don't know, man. It's called kerosene, Rob.
Yeah.
The email says, Rob and Jay, so you're saying coal makes up the majority of power going to the Texas grid, yet wind is a reason for the rolling blackouts? Question mark. And then it goes on. Also, why does the North Dakota legislature want wind power to get a special tax on it and give the tax to coal-fired plants?
Well, listen, so I think the listener's confused. The majority of what's supporting both the SPP and MISO, which are the two grids that cover North Dakota, and SPP, by the way, goes all the way down south and covers northern Texas as well. Right now, in this current moment, because you can actually go to their websites and look and see, like, I think it's updated every 10 minutes or 15 minutes or something. You can see a live shot of the breakdown of what they call it their fuel mix, right? And it'll go right down the list. It'll say this much is coal, this much is natural gas, this much is wind, this much is solar, this much is hydro. And that was as of like around 11 o'clock this morning when I was able to log into those websites and take the screenshot. Coal was providing the bulk of it. So that's in this moment. Now, what your listener is talking about is overall capacity. Now, coal still may be the number one on these grids. I haven't looked at their capacity mix versus what they're generating in a given moment.
I have it right here. Let's see. Hold on here. Hang on. Let me make sure I got the right. What I have. Oh, let me find. I got a million articles in front of me here. Okay, no, those are spot prices I had. I know in your piece, as of 2015, wind power generated, so it supplied 11% of Texas's energy grid. Last year, it supplied 23% and overtook coal as the system's second largest source of energy after natural gas. So if 23% is wind power, and that's down,
right?
Well, what's the population of Texas?
That's the Texas, and that's even a third grid. That's the Texas, I think it's the ERCOT, ERCOT. I think that's what it's called. Energy Reliability Commission of Texas. Yes. I think that's what it is.
Electric Reliability Council of Texas.
Okay, that's what it is. So that's even a third grid. There's two different measures. There is the fuel mix in any given moment on the grid, which is, wind's giving us this much right now, and hydro's giving us this much, and coal's giving us this much. And then there's capacity, which is this is how much all the different power sources hooked into the grid could theoretically provide. Now, wind usually, by the way, wind power, you'll hear they'll say, this wind farm is, capable of producing so many megawatts. They most of the time, or I shouldn't say most, depending on the wind farm, but like they hit that like maybe 50% of the time, right? Because the wind just doesn't blow all the time. I mean, this is the problem is the problem is wind is a fundamentally different type of energy than coal.
It's not a constant.
Right. So coal is like you have gas in the gas tank, and then depending on how hard you push the accelerator, depends on how much energy it's going to push out. Wind is dependent on the weather.
Correct. Yeah, if the wind's not blowing, you're not making power.
So two fundamentally different things.
Stephen Lake Park, thanks for hanging on, Jay Thomas Show.
Hey, I just wanted to understand. I listened to your discussion going on about the intermittent wind, and I don't hear nuclear being put into the context at all. Now, nuclear is 100% clean energy. There's advanced nuclear reactors that can actually burn the existing nuclear waste to make energy for essentially forever. And the footprint is very small, and I don't hear that getting into the mix at all.
Yeah, I mean the problem with nuclear is, and I could tell you actually on the SPP, which is the one that we've been talking about, as of 11 o'clock this morning, nuclear was a little over 5% of the total grid. I don't have that number for MISO, which is the other grid that covers North Dakota and Minnesota. The problem with nuclear is two things. One, everyone is really, really afraid of what happens if one of these plants leaks.
We have we have
Fukushima, 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl. I mean, we have all these terror. Now, the technology around, and I like nuclear. I think we should do more nuclear. I also can't pronounce nuclear, so I'm going to butcher it here.
I'll say for you, nuclear.
Yeah, so I'm very much for it, but people are scared of it. People are scared if also what to do with the waste. Because there is radioactive waste that results from nuclear power, and so you can't say it's 100% clean because when you're done, you have this leftover waste that has to go somewhere. and we haven't
Which can
really
be burned and to make more power out of it. You can use that to make more power.
Not all of it.
I'd love to sit down and explain all this. I don't have time right now, but it's a hugely beneficial thing, and most of the people are scared of it because they've gotten poor information.
I
just want it back into the mix if we can get it.
I like nuclear power. I think we should.
But
to give an example of the sort of political headwinds that's facing, a few years ago, the University of North Dakota's EERC, Energy and Environmental Research Center, they wanted to drill a borehole in Pierce County, near Rugby, North Dakota, as part of an experiment into ways to dispose of radioactive waste. Now, they weren't going to put any radioactive, they were just going to drill the hole, right? It was just an experiment like, could we drill this hole? What does it look like? That's all they wanted to do was just drill a hole. And the county and the city came together and got that sucker shut down. And then when legislation came up in the legislature to try to authorize it that way, that got shut down as well. So there is a lot of NIMBY. Nobody wants nuclear in their backyard.
Well, the word by itself just scares the hell out of people. It does. We're nuclear, and you're like, oh my God, nuclear.
And that's not fair. I don't think that's fair. I think we could do nuclear. I think we could do it safely. But man, I mean, nuclear is probably even worse than coal in terms of political headwinds.
Oh my God, yeah, it would be yeah, you're right. The political battle would be unbelievable.
I'm not happy about that. I'm not saying that like gleefully, but that's reality.
Another email, guys. How come our wind turbines are spinning and it's colder here than in Texas? Every wind farm between Fargo and Sioux Falls this week was spinning and I assume generating. Well, the problem down in Texas, it's not just the cold. All right, they've got freezing rain. It's freezing everything up down there.
Yeah, and I don't know how much energy. I mean, again, I just read you the numbers from Meso this morning. It was like less than 4. It was just over 3% of all the energy as of 11 o'clock this morning. So I don't know. I mean, they may be spinning. I don't know what they're actually producing. I also had a reader this morning who was telling me that there was like a construction. They had to rent a diesel generator for a construction crew that was working on a project around one of these wind turbines. The wind turbine was supposed to be providing the energy for the construction crew there, and it couldn't, and they had to rent a diesel generator. So I don't know. I mean, that's an anecdote. If you're seeing them spinning, I don't know what that means. I can tell you right now, wind energy is not what we're relying on for energy right now. Not in our region.
Well, and I got to believe our wind turbines are no different. I mean, if we got a combination of cold, freezing rain, I'm like, if it created the similar kind of conditions, ours would freeze up too. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, it could be that ours are designed. I mean, this sort of weather that like Texas and Oklahoma and those places are getting, this is not normal for them.
Yeah, this is unheard of.
-30, I don't want to say it's normal for us, but it's not unheard of.
Yeah.
So it could be that maybe our wind turbines are designed differently. I don't know, but I could tell you that when you have wind energy advocates out there telling us, "Oh, don't worry about brownouts, don't worry about blackouts. That's just the coal people spreading propaganda." Well, I'm telling you, wind's not passing the test right now.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm going to bring this up, and he's not here to be part of the conversation, but this was tagged on my Facebook page. This is Dustin Garlow. I don't know. Is he still with Watchdog Network? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. But he posted this morning, and he tagged it on my page. He said, and it kind of ties in with what we're talking about. It says, this weekend, I was pointing to a document created by Xcel Energy that specifically outlines the fact that they as a company plan to, as part of their preferred option, phase out coal power production entirely in the next 10 to 20 years, with the process starting as soon as 2024. It is my opinion that the locals in coal country are not getting the truth by their own leaders. The companies that operate and or buy coal power have now embraced this and reported as their preferred option. There are several bills this legislative session to bail out or prop up coal by spending what will end up being hundreds of millions of dollars in the long run. But the fact is the companies that produce the power and buy the power from North Dakota have already made up their minds. The power companies have already decided what is going to happen.
Yeah, so I don't know why Dustin's treating that like news. That's been going on for a while. I think maybe it's just working its way into our part of the world. But, I mean, part of the reason why Coal Creek Station is being shut down is because the folks that run it, their customers over in Minnesota, for political reasons, don't want what they call, they're calling them black electrons. So they're electrons that come from fossil fuels, basically coal, natural gas, things like that. They don't want black electrons. So this isn't new. I mean, it's not surprising that a corporation like Xcel Energy would be caving to political pressure for coal. That doesn't make them right. You know, I mean, I don't know, back during the subprime housing market, I mean, there were a lot of banks that had a lot of smart people working for them that decided that investing in subprime mortgages that were essentially a product of the government trying to promote home ownership, that they thought that was a really good idea that would never collapse until it did.
Yeah.
I think we have the same problem going on here. We have the government saying we need to promote green energy, and they've got all these, everything from mandates to huge subsidies for the production of quote-unquote green energy. And not surprisingly, private companies like Xcel Energy are pursuing it. But what they're pursuing is something that was created by the government. There's a difference in demand. Like, there's demand for automobiles, Jay, because people need to be able to drive. They like to drive, and they need to drive. And so there's a market for automobiles. I don't know, when you start getting into some of these green energy things, like, is there a market for ethanol, for instance? Is there really a market for wind, or were these markets created in pursuit of capturing government subsidies? I would argue that that's why those markets exist. They are a construct of the government, not of real world, this is what works market demand.
Another email comes in, says the average spot price, guys, for power across Texas grid hit $9,000 per megawatt hour. Wow.
Yikes.
Yeah. And then I see also, because of what's going on with this weather and everything else and what's happening in Texas, I don't know if I've got to believe you've been following this, but because of this, you have quite a jump in the oil market right now.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the terrible things about this is, like, North Dakota loves it when oil prices go through the roof, right? It's great
above
for us.
$60 a barrel for the first time since the early days of the pandemic.
Not great for a lot of the rest of the country, but it's pretty good for North Dakota.
And now it looks like if I believe they're going to be shutting down. Let me find it here. The country's biggest refinery, I believe, is shutting down because of this weather.
Yeah. Is it a temporary shutdown, though?
Yeah, it's just temporary, so.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of refineries that are down in that part of the world, like the coast of Texas, Louisiana. Midland, Texas is a big one. So that, their facilities, it might be the same as the wind turbine. Their facilities may just not be designed for this kind of weather. Yeah. And they just can't operate. I mean, if you're down there and it never gets below freezing, you probably don't have your water pipes insulated. Right? Why would you do it if it never gets below freezing?
Well, exactly. I just got earlier that email from a listener down in Oklahoma saying we've got water pipes down here bursting like crazy, and water mains are bursting.
Yeah, you build a house at a place where it never gets below freezing. You're not going to spend as much on insulation if you're building a house in Minot.
You're right. I mean, if you look, I mean, a lot of homes you get to the southern part of the country where you're right, where this just doesn't happen. Maybe once in a blue moon, if that. But you look, a lot of places down south, like their water heaters, their washer, their washing machine stuff. That stuff's all outside.
That's the weirdest thing in the world. I was in Florida, and their water heaters, like on their back porch. Like,
they're outside. Yeah, exactly.
What?
Yeah, they're outside.
Air conditioners up on the roof. Like, what is going on?
Winter storm and Arctic blast of cold weather making its way to the south. Says it's going to have severe impacts on the oil industry. Frigid weather means many oil wells will have to shut down. Water is produced along with the oil. That water freezes up the equipment. Yeah. Cold air affects oil production in Canada, North Dakota, Oklahoma, Texas, and elsewhere. And I don't know how long this is going to last. Okay, so one more time here, Rob. So for folks that are, so we're not trying to panic, we just want to let you know how this is having an effect. What's going on in Texas up here. And where the hell is it now? There we go. Sorry, I lost another article. There it is. So this MISO, that's Mid-Continent Independent System Operator, and then you have SPP, that's the Southwest Power Pool.
Correct.
And they cover this like patchwork in North Dakota.
Right. And MISO, by the way, covers pretty much all of Minnesota. I think they might be exclusive in Minnesota.
Okay. So they said, look, for the people that they supply power to, correct? They
right.
said,
This is
look,
the SPP.
yeah, most of, and they serve South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Northern Texas, up here in North Dakota.
Patches of North Dakota.
Patches of it.
Right.
Are telling their people that they supply power to the local companies, correct? That, hey, look, you may have to do rolling blackouts.
No, they're saying you have to do rolling blackouts.
You have to.
Right. Now,
Okay.
Again, how that gets implemented is going to vary from utility to utility because each one of these grids is made up of member utilities. So we had a caller earlier who was talking about like electric cooperatives and stuff. They would be member utilities of a grid like this. Mm-hmm. So essentially what they're saying is, hey, member utilities, you need to implement your plans for controlled interruptions. Now, what that looks like on the ground as an energy consumer is going to vary depending on who your utility provider is. That's really, at this point, I haven't heard any of ours in North Dakota that have made any sort of an announcement like how they're going to do. And this news
and it may not happen up here.
This news is just going on 2 hours, and maybe it won't. I don't know. I don't know how this gets rolled out.
The best thing is look, if you're concerned, call your utility company.
Exactly.
Correct.
My point is kind of a public policy point.
Mm-hmm.
Which is that we're having a debate about wind energy. The wind energy folks are telling us, oh no, it's reliable. These rolling blackouts are, you don't need to worry about them. This is a power grid operator that operates in North Dakota that's ordering rolling blackouts.
Jay in Fargo, Jay Thomas Show.
Yeah, just thought I would bring up another topic that goes right alongside of this because we've all been saying for years that if you're going to be sitting at negative 20, 30, 40 degrees and we're going to be depending on wind and solar, you can take a look at Germany right now where all their solar panels are covered in snow. They can't collect electricity that way. Their wind is not working. So they're having to revert back to what we have with our coal plants. And then the next step with this is GM is trying to get rid of all gas-powered cars by the year 2050.
Yep.
Well, if we can't even get electricity into our house, how are we supposed to power up a car?
Well, and I've brought that up many times too. So you want everything to be this electric, do we have we don't have the grid to handle it.
We could if we stop this political crusade against power sources like coal, like natural gas, like nuclear. I think electric cars are great. I think they're a wonderful technology. And by the way, who loves electric cars? The coal industry. Google Tesla Lignite Energy Council. The Lignite Energy Council is basically the representative of the coal industry in the state of North Dakota, and they bought a Tesla as a promotion, driving it around because they want you to plug your car in because their industry makes electricity.
That's right.
Right? The coal industry loves electric cars, and they should. Electric cars are great. Teslas are cool as hell.
Well, they are cool. I got a buddy that owns one. Those things they're wicked, man.
But at some point, something's going to have to give because we can't continue to increase our electrical consumption. And if we're going to move from gas-powered cars to electric cars, our electrical consumption is going to go through the roof. We can't do that and be dependent on wind energy or solar energy. That's just not going to work.
Oh, it's not feasible. And you're right. I love the Teslas. Those are cool. But I'm going to be honest with you. I like the sound of a grumpy old V8.
Well, those are
making
cool
a lot of
too.
noise.
Those are cool too. I'm just saying. For a lot of people, electric car. There's nothing inherently wrong with them. They're cool.
They are. And at the end, not all of them. Some are.
And at the end of the day, you still need the transportation industry. And ain't nobody told me how you can ship semi-loads full of stuff. You'd need a battery the size of a four-wheeled ATV. An airplane isn't running on an electric battery.
I'd like to know how those Teslas handle the cold weather up here.
I would like to know as well in terms of range, because I know what happens to the battery in my truck when I'm trying to start it when it's 30 below. And I will tell you, everybody makes the mistake too of assuming it may be that electric cars only serve a portion of it. There's not probably going to be one silver bullet alternative that replaces gasoline.
No,
we're probably going to use gasoline and electric, maybe natural gas. I think in the future there's going to be a mix, and it's going to depend.
Yeah.
Like if you're driving a delivery vehicle, maybe natural gas or electric makes sense.
But you can't have it all one way, and that's what they want. They want it all solar, all electric, and that's just not possible. Jay, appreciate it. Rob, what's your next podcast, brother, on Plain Talk? I got to roll.
I think State Representative Dave Naring is going to be on. I'm trying to book him, and we may be talking about some of this wind energy legislation in Bismarck.
All right, callers, hang on. I'll grab you callers before I get to the Lieutenant Governor. He's going to join us next. Rob, always a pleasure. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks.
You got a WDAY time coming up at 3 o'clock news. Then I'll grab the calls. Hang on, callers. And then Lieutenant Governor Brett Sanford will come back. Jay Thomas Show.